Hello and welcome to Center Ice Cardcast, your one-stop podcast shop for all things hockey cards. My name is Eric Andrews, also known in the hobby as Hammerhawks, and I'm joined by my co-host and fellow hobbyist Aaron Goldstein, better known in the hobby as Crease Collector. So as you guys can tell by the title of the episode, this one will be mostly about President's Choice in the Crease. But before we get into that, I did want to give a quick little update on my Black Friday purchases and breaks, as well as a fun mail day that I just recently had. So as you guys might recall from a few episodes ago, I mentioned how I bought 3 boxes of 21-22 Upper Deck 1 retail on Black Friday with the hopes of pulling either a Caulfield or Zegras Young Gun. And as I shared, I did hit the Caulfield Young Gun in the second pack of the first box. So obviously I was quite satisfied, regardless of whatever else might be pulled from the rest of the boxes. So like I said, I was just like, okay, great. No more pressure, so to speak, for the rest of it. Whatever happens, happens. Just have fun with the rest of it. So I cracked into the second box right before Christmas, and lo and behold, what comes out of the sixth pack of the box? A Trevor Zegras Young Gun. So obviously couldn't have asked for much more out of those boxes. 2 boxes, got the 2 cards that I wanted. So hard to top that, and obviously was very, very excited to have gotten that card. And then one other thing to note, with the purchase of those 3 boxes on Black Friday, I was given 3 of the National Hockey Card Day promo packs. And I decided that I might as well open them just for the heck of it, and just see what happens. Typically, you just kind of get an assortment of the standard cards from the set, and that's fully what I was expecting. But I am really glad that I did open the packs, because on the third pack, I got what I consider to be probably the strangest pull of my life. Now, of course, being in the United States, I received the American version of the National Hockey Card Day packs. There are American versions and Canadian versions. So obviously down here in the States, we get the American ones. But what was really strange, and why I said it's the strangest pull of my life, is that in that third pack was a Canadian card. Pretty obscure. Obviously, that was a mistake. You're not supposed to get Canadian cards in the American packs. So obviously that was a mistake. But that was not the only mistake. It wasn't just any Canadian card. It was actually a Theo Fleury autograph card. And the autograph cards are super hard to find, like wildly, wildly rare because of how many packs they produce of this stuff, which is why when you open them, you just assume you're not really going to get much of anything. So to get an autograph is like a really big deal out of these packs. But again, like I said, that wasn't the only mistake. The card didn't have an autograph on it. So it's literally an autograph card with no autograph. They just didn't get the sticker put on the card. So obviously that was a very interesting and, like I said, very strange pull. And I didn't really think much of it at first as far as like what to do with it. I was like, oh, whatever, like it's an error card, it's cool, whatever. But then a day or two later, I kind of figured, well, it is an error card. Sometimes there are, people that look for those, and, I might as well throw it on eBay and see what happens. Well, the following morning, I received an offer of nearly 80 US for the card, so I gladly accepted and sold that card. Obviously, like I said, just kind of a cool card, but do I value it at $80? Absolutely not. So I was happy to sell it for that. And, that kind of plays into this episode because thanks to that sale, I actually grabbed an extra box of In the Crease for us to enjoy later on in the show. So turned a mistake from a free pack into an extra box for this episode. So very, very cool. Just wanted to share that story with you guys since it's definitely not something you see happen every day. And then turning to the last thing before we get into the main part of the episode, I just wanted to share a quick little mail day that I just got. It was my very first mail day for 2023. It was something that I closed the deal with the guy, I want to say probably like December 28th or something like that, toward the end of the year. And so I figured that it would probably be the first thing that I would get in 2023. And it's something that I never really considered ever getting for my collection. But then when I saw that this guy posted on Facebook, I was like, that would be really cool to have. Do I need to have it? No, but it would be really cool to have. So if you guys have listened to the show, you might remember, I think I've referenced it maybe like 2 times or maybe 3 times throughout the entire podcast. So you would have had to have listened to just about everything to catch this. But some of you might recall that the first product, the first box that I ever opened as a collector was 2003-04 Classic Portraits. And I think it was, I don't know if it was the National I forget. I know Chicago used to have an annual show that was a pretty big deal. I think it was called Sports Fest, and they had that every year. So I think it was probably a Sports Fest. I don't think it was
Sounds
a
familiar.
national. I know In the Game would do show stamped cards at Sports Fest, so that
Yeah,
might be
back in the
why
day, yeah.
where you've heard of it. But so I think it was probably at a Sports Fest show that was the first show I went to. First box I ever opened was 0304 Classic Portraits. So fast forward all of these years later, and lo and behold, was this guy post on Facebook that I ended up buying a box of 2003-04 Classic Portraits, which is
Nice,
really
blast from the past.
which is really cool in its own right. And some of you guys might say, well, why was that the box that you picked? Like what stood out to you? Well, if you probably aren't familiar with the product because it was only around for 2 years and it's been forever. Why it stood out to me was pretty apparent. The box is absolutely massive, and I'm going to hold this up so Aaron can see it right now.
That's huge.
It's massive
Like
because
a baby in there or something.
I mean, you could probably fit a small baby in here, honestly, but how
Do not recommend that.
true, yeah. We're not liable for anything you guys do with your box of the cards. But anyway, why it's so big, not only do you get the 18 packs of cards, but you also get a mini bust in each box. So the busts are actually fairly substantial. So that's what takes up the majority of the room in the box. So I kind of like I knew that it was really big, but then when I opened that package the other day and pulled it out, I was like, oh my gosh, this thing is massive. So just kind of funny, but a really cool and just kind of a meaningful addition to my collection. Truthfully, I don't think that I will open it. I think I'm just going to leave it sealed and just say, for nostalgia's sake, that's the first thing I ever opened. There's one of them. If I can find a second one down the road, then maybe I will open up one of them for old time's sake on the podcast. But yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys. Just a really cool and meaningful pickup. And yeah, just something you definitely don't see every day. And just thought it'd be a really cool addition to my collection. And now that I have it in hand, I'm really glad that I did it.
Nice. I mean, especially if it didn't set you back too much. Getting, one of the first boxes that you ever opened is super cool. So pretty huge pickup, pun totally
True,
intended,
true.
and very awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And I thought the price was pretty fair. A lot of times older wax can definitely fetch a pretty big price at this point, so much after the fact, not much of it is out there. So, I thought that it was fair, especially considering that the big name rookies are redemptions. So you can't actually get the rookie cards of Fleury and Bergeron and Burns and Stahl and all of those guys. Nathan Horton, shout out Josh Packham. You can't get any of those guys because they're redemption cards. So I kind of use that as a little bit of a negotiating tactic to get the price down a little bit, but still I feel like it was probably a fair price given that it's so far after the fact. So yeah, definitely really fun and exciting, and just was excited to share that with you guys. So with that, let's now turn to the main part of the episode discussing all things about President's Choice in the Crease. Joining us to break down the product is the man that knows the product better than anybody else, that being Dr. Brian Price of President's Choice Trading Cards. Dr. Price, thanks so much for joining us.
Always a pleasure.
So, just starting things off, obviously, this has kind of been something that's been a long time coming. At least it feels like that for a lot of collectors anyway. So, what inspired you to make In the Crease, and how long had you been considering building a goalie only product?
Well, we've always enjoyed making goalie cards and goalie products because of the equipment the goalies use and the ability to make various kinds of cards with that equipment. We also felt that there's a real solid base of goalie card collectors out there and want to make something for them. So it's been an idea we've had for a while, but we really couldn't do it properly, we felt, until we sourced enough equipment to do so. And there's a lot of different memorabilia in the product, and that really came from a number of years of adding to the memorabilia we already had in inventory. And of course, when we sold to Leaf, that sort of dissipated quite a bit, and then we had to build it back up again. So it took us about this long to get enough that we felt that we could make a good product.
Absolutely, that makes sense for sure. This is something that we've discussed previously, but can you just go over how you came up with the name In the Crease and why it is not Between the Pipes?
Okay, so we couldn't use Between the Pipes. When we sold our products and our trade names to Leaf in 2014, Between the Pipes went with it. Sad that they really haven't taken advantage of that, but what can I tell you? They run their business, we run ours. So we really couldn't use that, and so we sat around one day, all of our staff members, and knocked around all the different things that were relevant to goalies, and it came up. And I think once someone announced it, everyone's lights went on. Said, "That's great. Let's do it." We certainly would have done a Between the Pipes 2 or 3 or 4 or update or whatever if we could have, because it's a great name. And but we just couldn't for legal reasons. Our second choice was Stack the Pads. And so who knows? We either will come out with a In the Crease 2 or a Stack the Pads 1 sometime in the future. But again, down with the levels of all our memorabilia, and we got to bring them back up again before we can do another product like that.
For sure. Yeah, I personally love the name In the Crease. I think it definitely works. So yeah, I think it was a good choice. And of course, with it being an all goalie boxed product, a lot of people are calling it, the quote unquote new Between the Pipes.
And I like that. That's great. They can do that. I can't. So I'm glad they're calling it that. And I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe one day Leap will do a Between the Pipes.
For sure. So with people calling it that and just what the product is, how did you want In the Crease to kind of mimic Between the Pipes, and how did you want to differentiate it and make it fresh?
Well, the biggest differentiation between In the Crease and Between the Pipes was a result of the evolution of us manufacturing cards. We're focused now on low print quantities and are able to make these really unique cards versus, back in the day, there was in Between the Pipes, we had a base set. We had a lot of non-memorabilia insert sets where we printed cards that were out of 150, 200, 300. We don't do that anymore. We're too small. If we did that, we'd have the same thing that all the other manufacturers have, delays in getting it out because this supplier can't do that and this supplier can't do this. We pretty much do everything ourselves now. And so we can control. It takes us longer because there's fewer of us, but we know the time limits, meaning there's no one stepping in and saying supply chain this or supply chain that. We have it all. We have the display boxes, we have the foam that goes in, we have the plastic boxes our card goes in. And one thing I'm going to tell you, and everyone should hear, I watch all the breaks and I watch everyone complain about all the extra pieces of white cards that are in there. And I have to explain that if they weren't in there, those cards would rattle around the plastic, edges would get dinged, and just throw them out. Stop complaining about them. They're there for a purpose, and we're not going to stop. And and sometimes it's good for the guys that, they slide them over top so you can't see what card's coming out. But a lot of people are just complaining a lot about with respect to why there's so many white cards, why there's so many, and that's really what it's for, is to jam all those cards in there so they don't move during shipping. Just wanted to make the point. I never get a chance to do that, so I figured I would do it this time.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like it, for exactly the reason you said, that it's not moving, and that's really important, especially for thick memorabilia cards that are easier to get damaged. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. And you talked a little bit there about kind of the scale that President's Choice operates on. Can you talk about the decision and the planning, I guess probably more so the planning that went into having the product be 4 cards per box with no cards being numbered higher than 10? And with that, how did that kind of factor into the price point, and why was it important to you to keep the price point, fairly reasonable?
Okay, it wasn't a great idea to keep the price point fairly reasonable. It wasn't one of my greatest ideas, but my goal was to try and give the collectors better value, and that was more important to me than to increase the price point, because we wanted to prove to collectors that our products are well priced, sell out immediately, just like this product did, and it helps us down the road. So it could have been slightly more, probably wouldn't have made a difference. But if it was a lot more, it would have made a difference. And then now you've got, you sell 75%, and then what do? You discount the rest or whatever. This was sold out before it was even released. And that's really what we wanted to. A lot of care goes into the packaging out of our products to ensure that the collectors are getting good value. And the thought process begins in the planning stage, and then we configure the checklist and the print quantities with this in mind. So, there are some that needed to be out of 10 in order to get enough cards to make the number of boxes we did, but there was a lot of opportunities to have one of ones. And we also had a lot of brand new memorabilia where we could make jumbo memorabilia because we had a lot of the crest. It was all, fresh and new. So we weren't going in as we had to with some of our vintage players. We don't have a lot left. This was a lot of brand new jerseys, brand new gloves, brand new pads. And so we had a lot of stuff that we could work from. So it wasn't as difficult as it has been in the past. So we had an idea, we bought enough to make the idea work, and it seems to be working.
Yeah, absolutely. I know people have loved everything that's come out of it so far. And one thing too that I wanted to talk on, just because I know that it's something that you always kind of bounce around in your head when you're envisioning a product, the choice to have 4 cards in each box.
Yeah, like I said, it was, we have boxes with 3, we have boxes with 5. 4 is always the best for me. It causes an increase in price, and this time we put 4 in, and we didn't do the increase in price. And we saw how acceptable that was. And we had our base orders from all our distributors. We sold out, and a lot of our distributors then took their orders and before release date went out and pre-sold them. It came back to us for more. We just didn't have it. It was, and then of course in the middle of the night you wake up and say, geez, I should have made a little bit more. But it doesn't matter. The bottom line doesn't really matter. It creates a good product. It'll help us in the future. And it's nice in this day and age that collectors get something that's of value as opposed to stuff that's not. And this is really, after COVID, it's a tough time for the hobby right now. And so it's good that there's something out there that's refreshing and worth what you pay for it.
Yeah, no question. And I've seen multiple people call this the product of the year and the best valued product in a long time and all that. So that definitely speaks to what you were just going through. Diving into the cards themselves and what's actually in the product, there are 28 different insert sets that are built into the product. Was that kind of originally the range of insert sets that you were thinking, or did that number grow as more time and thought went into the process of developing the product?
The latter. We don't have a clue of how many insert sets are going to be when we first start out. We know the basics. We know some of the ones that we want to do again, like the stick racks, the stick candles, the jumbo memorabilia. We know all of those, but then things happen. Like we're going to talk in a little while, hopefully, but lace them up. We just bought enough jerseys that we just saw the laces on the collars, and we said, well, here we go. There's another, and you add another. Like right now, we're working on Solitaire 2.0 update, and we're at 44 different insert sets. And as you continue, just an idea comes in, you say, well, wait a minute, let's go and let's put a checklist together. Let's see if we have the memorabilia. And if we do, then we'll go to the designer and say, this is our concept. Let's do it. And that's what happened with In the Crease. It started out probably as 18 or so. And then as we kept on going, we said, wait a minute, this is a good one. Wait a minute, we got enough goalies that can have a pad, a glove, a stick, and a trapper and a blocker. We can do 4. Let's do 4. Okay, add that to the list. Okay, now we need a design with 4. And it just keeps on growing until you multiply them by the number of cards in each set, the number of players in each set, and you get to the 4,000 that you need. You say, okay, that's good. And sometimes it's not even over. Sometimes we'll get number 29 and we have too many. So we'll take one out of the 28 because the 29th was better than the 17th. So it's not really done until it's done. And we're sometimes halfway through developing the product and producing the product when we come up with other ideas and change it. We just can't do our sales sheet yet because I don't want to have something on a sales sheet that then doesn't go into the product. That's not good.
For sure. Understandable. And that's really cool to kind of hear how that all develops and stuff. Obviously, we don't have time to go into all 28 of the different sets, but I just kind of wanted to talk on a few of the more notable ones, at least in my opinion. The first being the complete jersey triple cards, which you kind of just alluded to, having different types of material and stuff like that. And even though these are some of the more plentiful cards within the product, they're really nice nonetheless, just because they do have those different materials featured. What was kind of the inspiration for those cards, and how do you feel that they turned out?
We've always liked complete jersey cards in the sets we've done in the past and had positive feedback from collectors about those cards. But almost all the jerseys we used for the set were recently purchased as whole jerseys. So we had a lot of memorabilia to use for the set and wanted to produce enough cards that as many collectors could get them as possible. So, you have a jersey, you can have a jersey. We had a jersey with an emblem. It had a complete number on it. It had whatever other pieces that we wanted. It also had just the jersey piece at all. We took along the lines of where the colors changed. So we didn't have a lot of single color, the jersey piece from the triple jersey. So we could have multiple colors. This came out great. It really came out great. We were really happy with that particular insert set.
Awesome. Yeah. And you mentioned earlier the lace them up cards. One thing that kind of caught my attention with those specifically is, at least historically, for lace them up cards from President's Choice, those have typically been skate lace cards. Obviously, this time they're the jersey necktie laces, like you said. Can you just talk a little bit about, the decision, other than just that they were there and available, but kind of what inspired, that insert set and kind of putting a new twist on it compared to the skate laces?
So the whole concept was designed with skate laces in mind. And I had all kinds of, again, this is even pre Leaf, so I had all kinds of vintage skates. I had Shore, and I had Barocco, and I had Joliet, and I had maybe 40 or 50 vintage ones. And then we got the Lemieux and the Ginlas, et cetera, to make them up. And we had a great time doing the skate laces. This particular case, I was down to very few goalies and none of the current guys. So what I wanted to do when I saw it, we said, you know what? The newer jerseys had these, most of them, not all of them, had the neckties in them, the neck tie laces in them. And so we decided to go that route, but we just didn't want to put it back into the same type of design. So we tried to replicate the laces, the way the laces were set in the jerseys. So you notice that some of the laces are crossed, while some of them are not. And this is how the laces would have been on that particular jersey when we got it. So it's just a lot of fun to do. And it was there just staring us in the face. And we said, let's take advantage of it. And why change the name when, it's really, you're lacing up a skate, you're lacing up a jersey, you're lacing up a pad.
Yeah, for sure. I really like that detail about keeping them true to how they were on the jersey. That's not something I noticed, but that's really cool and a really nice added
Take a
touch.
look. Take a look at some of them. You'll see it.
Yeah,
It's it.
for sure. That's awesome. I love when companies are willing to go that extra step to just make things right, quote unquote. So kudos to you on that. Another insert set that obviously draws a lot of attention is the Pioneer set, just because that's been an insert that has appeared in your products over the years. What inspired you to include them in the crease, and how did you want to differentiate them this time compared to previous iterations?
Well, again, we have a significant number of different players. We don't have a tremendous amount of each of those players because, again, a lot of our inventory went to Leaf. But we really, it only made sense to use some of the great ones that we had. And it was just a matter of trying to find a different design that looked a little bit more like the up-to-date style of In the Crease, but still featuring the memorabilia and the players that were the vintage. And so we just figured the name Pioneers would work, and we did the design that we felt was a combination of old looking for the Pioneers, but new looking for whatever went within the crease. You just don't want to try and take a vintage design that we did in some of our other ones and put it into a product that has a more modern design. So we tried to combine the two of them so people wouldn't say, well, those look great, but they seem out of place. And I think for the most part, we got it.
Very cool. Yeah. And earlier you mentioned how there's a lot of one-of-ones within the product, thanks to inserts like the complete logos, the jumbo memorabilia, nameplates, on the move, stick handles, tags, things like that.
Tags were fun. Tags were fun. We never had really done just tags a lot before, and we had so many jerseys with the tags, and so I thought that was great. The lower the print run, though, you have to realize it's the higher cost to produce that card. And when we work on a configuration for box products, we always work from the point of view of providing the value. And with the purchase of so many whole game used jerseys and game used sticks, we were able to easily generate enough of these that we could put them in so that the percentages were high enough that you didn't have to open a case to get a one of one, and it worked out pretty well.
Absolutely. Would you say that out of the entire product, and this might be difficult to answer, but would you say that you have a favorite insert set within the product? And if so,
I've always loved the jumbo memorabilia just because they're as big as you can get. Matter of fact, we're doing something in our solitaire update as we're taking whole fronts of shooting shirts, NBA shooting shirts, and we're making, some of them are 24 different cards. When you put them together, you can put out the whole, and it's been done before. We just think we're doing just a little bit better. And so the jumbo memos have always been a favorite of mine. And the more that we've been able to make the cards ourselves, and take the time to put them in and make them as thick as we need to make them so that we can put as much of the material in there. So before it used to be 80% of the card, and now it's close to 90% of the card. And so I've always liked those because they're, even the worst ones are really colorful, and they're great for collectors who collect for their PCs to get one or two of them out of a product. The other thing I like about it is, and I watch all the people that have broken the product, and they know exactly what collector to go with the jumbo that they have. They know, contact this guy, and if they don't know it, someone else knows it right away, and they're all circulating and finding their own homes, which I've always found fascinating in this hobby.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's always really fun to see that and understand that people are, oftentimes looking out for other people
Yes.
and trying to do that. So that's always really fun to see.
And mostly,
for sure.
doing very fair deals. Mostly, there's the odd time someone tries to take advantage, but I think that's the odd time. It's not the normal.
For sure. Another thing I just thought of as we were getting ready to start is, with the photography on the cards, it kind of has a little bit more of an artistic style, which I know is fairly common for your cards. But maybe if you just wanted to talk about that and why the decision to go with kind of more of an artistic style compared to just straight up a photo.
You know what? I don't know. We started doing it when I started doing the solitaire products, and I really liked it, and more people liked it that didn't like it. And so we've just continued on until I hear something different. People start complaining, I'll make a change, but we've always liked it. And it's an extra step for us in doing it. And sometimes there's certain images that we like to use that we can't use because it doesn't sort of fit in. But we just like doing it. There's a lot of percentage of the cards that I make from my own personal tastes as a collector. And some people like them in the end, and some people don't. And, we're just doing something called Brush with Greatness, and we're taking all of our cards that we had made for Sport Kings in 2012, and we're taking all the artwork cards and making individual cards, 3 of them with memorabilia on them. And I get all kinds of emails that say, "Oh, these cards are terrible, and this guy looks horrible, and like horrible." Yet, the artist that we had, a guy by the name of Jared Kelly, he was like the number one. He's the number one artist for tops right now. And so there's always, art is in the eyes of the beholder. So I like it, I do it, and if people eventually say we don't like that anymore, then I guess I'll have to change. In the interim, I enjoy doing it that way.
I've always really appreciated the art cards and just kind of that more artistic style, whether it be, with the photo or it's an actual painting or drawing or whatever it might be. I think that's just a nice little added bonus to a card. Not that there's anything wrong with a photo, but just kind of that extra step of
Yeah, you
making
know
it.
what? There's also a thing where everyone's doing photos. Do something different. If
True.
everyone's doing art, then it's time to go back to photos. Just be a little different.
True. That's a good point for sure. And then you've touched on the checklist and kind of the mix of current and retired and legend. And obviously that's something that has caught a lot of people's attention and maybe is a little bit different than how some of your products work. Typically you do have current players and goalies and stuff. A lot of times it is more of those retired and legend goalies, whereas In the Crease has a pretty wide variety of current goalies included.
Yeah. When you're doing an overall hockey product, you can make a different mix. When you're focusing on just goalies, then you're really, and you're talking about goalie collectors, you've got to go to your percentages have to change because those are the goalies of today. Those are the goalies that everyone wants to collect nowadays. And I have to tell you, what's really interesting is there have been a lot of changes since we started this program of goalies moving around. And that's why you talk about the 28 and why is there only 28. But one of the 28 was not on the move. We did that almost after the rest of the product was almost ready to come out.
Hmm.
We took some cards out and put on because we saw enough goalies we knew had changed, like Samsonov with the Leafs. And even since then, I see all kinds of changes, and all kinds of new guys playing in the nets. So I mean, we could do it. We could do if I could get the memorabilia quick enough, we could do a In the Crease update like tomorrow before the season ends. I should
True.
speak to the guys about that, actually. That might be interesting.
This is a question that Aaron had, and unfortunately, even though he's not able to be with us for this segment, I'll ask it on his behalf. So, with this being as expansive of a checklist and with the range of names as it is, whether it's someone that's included in the product or not, do you have a favorite goalie of all time? And if so, are they in the product?
I do, and they're not.
Okay.
My favorite goalie of all time has always been Patrick Waugh.
Mm,
And I want to include him in the product, but he has an exclusive with Upper Deck now, and so we didn't. I know there's been lawsuits with Upper Deck and Leaf and settled and whatever, and I've just decided to stay away from that. So I would guess that my new favorite goalie in the product, subtracting Patrick Waugh, would have to be Dominic Hasek, and they were two of my favorite goalies. A lot because of how good they were, and even more as the style that they played, I really enjoyed watching. And so we got Dominic in there, and Patrick. We decided just best to leave that alone.
very cool. Yeah, that's always cool to hear kind of the stuff that maybe you don't hear super often. So that's really fun. Obviously, here on the podcast, mainly with Aaron, we have a favorite goalie here in Jonas Enroth, and he is prominently featured
Of
throughout the
course he
product.
is. I wouldn't leave him out. Of
So
course he is.
for all of those diehard Enroth collectors out there, what went into the decision to heavily feature him in the product?
Aaron, just want to make sure he was happy.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know when you first sent me that checklist and I passed it along to him, he was like, "Oh, wow, there's a lot in here." Okay.
The good news is he's able to collect them without having to buy that much product because everybody knows them and the cards come out and they're headed straight towards him.
True.
I didn't worry about him going broke getting all the Enroth cards, but I wanted to do that. And his stuff was available. So I forget what we got on Enroth. Let me take a quick peek. But yeah, so we were able to get gloves, a jersey, and we had a bunch of other stuff. I think we had some stuff from when he played for the Kings. And then, but I don't think I got anything from the Leafs. And I think I had heard that lately Aaron has got an actual piece of memorabilia from the Leafs.
Yeah, at the Spring Expo, he was able to get home and away game-worn jerseys.
Oh boy, that's great. That'd be fabulous for a collection.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, I know he really appreciated that Jonas is so heavily featured in the product and has really, really enjoyed picking up a lot of the cards and has had some pretty good success. So, I know that he's really enjoyed it.
That's why we did it. Got to keep everybody happy.
Absolutely. So, now that the product has been out for a little while, how has the reaction been from collectors that you've heard? And are you happy with the responses that you've gotten?
We're extremely happy with the response. Almost all of our distributors are upset with us that they can't get any more. You know, I told them that I told them it was sold out before release. I said, guys, there's no more. And they always think I'm fooling and there's more going to appear magically, but it's not. Great reaction from collectors. Again, wanting more of it. And so, like I said, maybe we'll do another one. Maybe we'll be able to do an update one with just featuring a lot of the players that we haven't been able to do. So if that's the case, it's time to start buying memorabilia again, like now. And it would only, it could even be something as small as another 300 boxes of an update or 500 boxes instead of the 1,000 that we made. But no, we're pretty pleased, and we're just hoping that this has been able to introduce the President's Choice products to some more collectors. A lot of the collectors, because we have difficulty selling through some of the distributors because of the other issues, don't know what our product's all about. And so this they seem to be able to get their hands on, and maybe they'll learn a little bit more and they'll be able to buy some of the other products we're going to come out with.
Absolutely. I think that's pretty much all the questions I have. Is there anything else that you'd want to share about the product?
No, you hit most of the nails on the head, and I'm glad we finally found some time to put this together. There's something going on down here every minute of the day. So today it started out with tennis, and then it went into bridge, and then it went into Pilates, and then I had a chiropractor appointment, and I'm going out at 6:45. I said, if I don't squeeze this in, I'm not going to get it done before you go away, and I wanted to do that. So it's good.
Absolutely. Well, as always, really appreciate your time, Dr. Price, and
My
thanks for your
pleasure.
insight.
Aloha.
Indeed. Have a
Take
good
care.
one.
You too.
All right. So, like I referenced at the top, I did get a box. I think I ordered it month and a half ago or something. Like it's been a while, just had it sitting around waiting for this episode. And then right before Christmas, I was like, you know what? Like these are going fast. I'm going to get another one just because it's a really well-priced product, like we talked about earlier, and they're going really quick. So if I ever wanted to get another one, like it's kind of now or never. So I ordered a second one. And then the next morning is when I sold the Theo Fleury cards. Then I was like, oh man, what if I got another one? So I ended up emailing Dave and Adams and having them add another one onto my order. So I actually do have 3 boxes to open up, which I'm very excited for, especially now that they are getting pretty hard to find and the prices have gone up on them over the last week or two. So definitely excited to open these up and see what happens. Like you guys have probably seen from the product, and as Dr. Price talked about earlier, there's a lot of really cool stuff in this product. So just really excited to see what I might get. Really quick, I just wanted to go over some stats about the product that are just good things to keep in mind if you are opening up a box. And these numbers are all based on the checklist that Dr. Price sent to me personally. I know that there isn't a checklist posted on the website or anywhere publicly, but he did send me the checklist right after release. And all of these numbers are coming from that checklist that he sent to me directly. So I just think that kind of going through these and having these in mind is really good and important for you if you are going to be opening up a box. So based on that checklist, like I said, there were 1,515 total boxes produced. I know that earlier in the interview with Dr. Price, he had mentioned 1,000, but that's actually for a different product that he's working on. So just to clarify that, it is 1,515 total boxes that were produced, which of course then multiply that by 4 cards per box. That would be 6,060 total cards within the entire product as a whole. So those are, the overarching total numbers for the product. So again, going back to that 1,515 boxes produced, what's important to keep in mind is that within the entire product, there are 779 total one-of-ones in the product. Now, again, take the 1515 box count, the 779 total one-of-ones. That means you have a 51% chance of hitting a one-of-one in any given box. So just something interesting.
That's
to
pretty
keep
crazy. Like 53% chance in a box. I mean, I know like when you watch breaks and stuff, like one-of-ones are quite prevalent in any, President's Choice products. They are abundant, but to see sort of a quote unquote more like normal, with different sets, like different print runs, non one-of-one print runs, for the one-of-ones to still fall over half, like that's crazy. Like
Yeah.
that's awesome. So hopefully you pull a one-of-one today, at least one,
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, obviously the nameplate cards definitely boost that count up because every single
Yeah.
letter is a one-of-one. But, still, it's a really nice card, even if, like take Jonas Enroth, there are 6 letters in his name.
I
So like,
enjoy nameplate cards.
oh, absolutely. They're really cool.
And they're
So
really and this one looks like in this product, they look great. In the solid gold product, I like when I saw those nameplate cards, I was like, wow, that looks so cool. Like really nice and bold design. And then you see these ones, like honestly, like I think they're like a step up. Like maybe people don't look at the design of the card when 98% of it is covered by memorabilia, but
true.
I don't know. I think there still is some
It still
value in
matters.
that.
It still
Yeah, it
matters.
still matters. And in another like cool little thing with this is with the nameplate cards, he actually cut the card out to form the full letter. Like if you have like an I in your name, we actually made the borders of the card that much more enclosed, and so it just fits the letter I. Whereas some companies in the past, just leave sort of a blank space, with the letters or not. So anyway, like just a little small attention to detail that I really like. So on some cards, there is, more of a design to look at, I guess. So
True.
like I just thought that was a nice touch. And the design themselves, I think, for those cards, I think for a lot of these sets are really, really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really glad that you mentioned that too, because that's something that not a lot of people realize is that it actually costs the manufacturer more
Oh yeah.
to do that because, like you
Like
said,
its own
suppose
custom card.
exactly when you have a letter that's a lot more narrow than the other letters, most of the time you can get away with the same window for most letters, but for something like an I, you really can't. So that actually requires a custom, a different sized die cut for the cards. So that's an
If they
added
choose to even
expense.
do it.
Right. So that's why you see a lot of the times that a manufacturer might not do that because it's an added expense for so few of cards that it might not feel worthwhile. But when you see it done, it feels right and it looks so much better. So yeah,
I
I'm
couldn't
really glad that you
recall if
pointed
I've
that
seen
out.
that before. Like maybe it's my first time like looking at a lot of nameplate cards, as they come out, there's gonna be a lot listed. But I don't recall if that was done in the game days. I want to say it was, but
Yeah,
to
he
sort of trace
has.
back, yeah, he probably did. But it's just a nice touch, coming from different manufacturers doing different things. I just thought it was a really nice touch. So yeah, and one
Yes.
that I couldn't recall if I'd seen it in the past. I definitely haven't, in the recent past, because I remember, when Panini, for example, came out with their genuine letter set, it was like cool, some fresh new nameplate cards, and then they just sort of left all these blank spaces on
Hmm.
some of the names, or like maybe if you had a weird cut to a letter, it was just sort of just blank space there. So that didn't look too good, but it was nice to see, new fresh letters come out and have them be sort of done, I guess, right, so to
Yeah,
speak. So yeah, it
for
was just a
sure.
nice touch.
Yeah, I agree
And
for
yes,
sure.
the other cards do look cool. It's not just about the nameplates, but I just thought, point that
Yeah.
out.
No, it was a good thing to point out for sure. I'm glad you did. So the fact that you have such a good chance of getting a one of one in any given box is really amazing, especially given that some of the one of ones in this product are really, really nice. So that's really cool. And like I said, again, that's something that's important for you to understand if you are going to be opening a box. I know that some breakers online haven't known that information. They've opened up some boxes and gotten lucky and gotten a one of one in every single box that they've opened. And then they just say, oh, you get a one of one in every box. Well, that's not true. It is basically every other box. So for a break like mine, when I have one individual box that was ordered earlier, that box essentially has a 50-50 chance. And then if you look at the two boxes that came from this most recent order, two boxes, that would essentially mean that I'm more or less guaranteed to get a one of one out of one of those boxes. So just based on how the math works, one, maybe two out of three boxes. So I just wanted to make note of that just because, like I said, I know that the checklist isn't out there publicly. I know I've posted it a couple different places, but it's not just readily available if you do a Google search and stuff like that. So I just wanted to share that, share those stats, and provide kind of those odds and everything too. So some of the things that I'll be looking for in the product, like I said, this is kind of just more of I'm just going to enjoy this and see what I get. But obviously, if I could pick some specific names and stuff, obviously I would love any George Vezina card that might be included. He has 7 different cards in the product with a total of 35 cards. So those would be pretty tough to get, but they're out there and someone's got to pull them. If I was picking just one, it would be the individual Pioneers card. I just think that's a really nice looking
That's
card.
the one I
And
was thinking too. I was just gonna ask because I've seen some quads
mhm,
pulled, but I wasn't sure if you had seen any of the single player card, Pioneers card, which does look pretty cool. So that would be a nice one to pull. For a second,
yeah.
I honestly thought you were gonna say Jonas Enroth, but I think that's a really close second. And I'm
True.
gonna say right now, I think that you're gonna pull something with his name on it. It might be something I don't have, might be something I already have. It doesn't matter. I think that you're gonna pull something with his name on it. So
I
we'll
hope
see.
so. I hope so. So you actually stole the thunder right there. My next point was that I hope to get an Enroth card,
Okay, there we
specifically
go.
specifically one that you still need, which is pretty
Of
much
course.
just some of the one of ones at this point, but I know you do still need the Sabres quad stick out of
Yeah, there's a
3.
quad stick out of 3, which sounds really cool. Like I really like the design of those cards. I haven't seen any. I was kind of hoping I'd at least see one by now, but they are out of 3, so pretty tough. It's
Hmm.
not often I go into a box break thinking, I hope I hit a card out of 3 instead of one of 1. But I think in this case, maybe that happens. We'll see. But yeah, I haven't seen that card.
True. So, and then outside of those two names, I mean, obviously those are probably the two biggest goaltending names of all time. Outside of those, obviously anything Marc-Andre Fleury would be cool. I know that one of those quads that Vezina is on, Fleury is also on, so that would be a cool one to get. And of course, just like any nice Blackhawks stuff would be cool. But like I said, really, I'm just excited to see what I get, and anything that might be a PC card that comes out of it would be a really nice bonus. And, like I mentioned earlier, one other important thing to note here too is that these are two separate orders. So it is feasible that I could get a double. Obviously, that's probably not super likely, but it is possible. Of course, it would be wonderful if it was a really good double or potentially like, two Enroth one of ones or something. But
I mean, that or two Vezinas. I mean,
True.
We'll see, but that's pretty cool.
So just wanted to point that out that these are from two different orders. So don't be absolutely stunned if there is a double. So with that, let's get busting. I'll open up the box that was from the first order back in, I think it was November. So we'll see how we do. And then obviously, I mean, I don't expect for there to be doubles within the two later boxes, but it's at least important to note what comes out of the first box in the context of if I happen to get a second copy of the same card later on. So here we go. Super excited to see these in person. Haven't seen any of these in person yet. So
They're nice cards. I mean, typical of the President's Choice, they're very well made and just really, really cool. Like we were talking about it a little while ago, but like all the, the photography, with the sort of artistic sort of edits on it that make it look sort of like almost like painted on there. Some more than others, but just that super cool visual effect on all their cards look really nice. And of course, you have the designs on themselves, which I think look really nice. And just really glossy finish, just really nice stock, and just all around just solid cards.
absolutely. So here we go. First card, first box. Of course, the top card is always going to be a number, jersey, or emblem. So that's just important to point out for everybody. So first card, first box. Got them upside down here. We have got a game used emblem, and I know Aaron will really like this one.
Nice start. Nice start.
If you want to make a deal for this one, we can discuss. But a game used emblem, numbered 6 out of 10 for the Nashville Predators, UC Saros.
Oh, that's a nice card. That's a very nice card. Nice patch too. That is nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
That's all I will say about that. I'm a big fan of Saros, smaller goalie. So you got to, stick together. All us smaller goalies out there. I was going to say all us Beer League heroes, but Saros is definitely not that. Maybe someday, but for now he's in the NHL, unfortunately. But yeah, super fan of the guy. So I was actually thinking of super collecting him like back in, I guess, the McDavid year, 15, 16. But I mean, there was so much competition for his cards, still is. But yeah, really good goalie.
Good way to start. Second card here. That's a nice one. We've got a vintage stick rack, numbered 3 out of 10 for the Philadelphia Flyers, Pete Peters.
Nice. Very cool card there. Awesome. I'd like to note also, like, although it doesn't apply to every single card in the product, but having all those photos in the product, like, really do make a difference. I know that, they're not licensed, but I mean, man, it's as close as you're going to get. You can't really notice, like on the cards with the photos, you can't really notice any sort of difference between that and an upper deck card, in my opinion. There are small details, but just very, very nice cards and nice use of the headshots and things like that.
Yes, I agree for sure. On to the third card. We've got a stick tape card. Really cool card in person. I really like
those
that.
are nice.
Numbered 1 out of 5, and I know Aaron will probably also like this one as well. Shown with the Ottawa Senators, but now a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs, Matt Murray.
Here we go, Matt Murray. Awesome. He's been good this year, so very, very cool. I'm sure some Leaf fans will like that. Like, I know there's a lot of good market for these stick tape cards. Just, that's a cool card. I mean, very, very nice. So
yeah,
I believe Panini was the first company to do that. Or maybe it was done a little bit earlier, but at least at large, like definitely Panini started that trend. I believe it was Dominion, like with the tape to tape set. But those are so cool. Like the concept is super neat and very, very nice. I remember having a conversation with Dr. Price at the expo many years ago, and he was always searching for sticks with tape on it. Although they always didn't come with tape, he always wanted those sticks with the tape. Especially the goalie sticks, because they would come with a lot of tape.
Mm-hmm.
And just like always looking for that tape so we can sort of make cards like those. I'm really glad to see that a lot of his game use stuff now has a lot of tape. So we can make cards like that. So it's cool to see a full set, make its way into a product of his. So very nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, obviously, too, a card like that is really, I mean, it's really cool on its own. But what you really come to appreciate about something like that, like take the Saros, for example, like really nice piece, really nice card. But something like that Matt Murray piece, you just know that that's like game used. Like there's so much wear on it that it's just very apparent. Like, oh, wow, yeah, like that was heavily used in the game. You can see it.
I always wonder, when it comes to puck marks on these memorabilia cards, is like, okay, what shots did he save with this stick?
Mhm.
Was it some cool couple minutes left in the game, he saved a nice shot and they won the game or something like that? And then there's a piece of that sort of hockey moment on this card, So it's like it's really impossible to tell, like unless you have some awesome detective work, but which has happened. I have actually mapped out some games to memorabilia cards, but very, very difficult to do. But it's always fun when it has that extra wear on it because you're like, okay, you can kind of make up your own stories of like how in the context of the game was this piece to use, so that's pretty cool.
True. So moving on to our grand finale. I got a little brief peek of it earlier, so I know that it is in fact a one of one.
Is it a
And
goalie card too?
it is a goalie card. I know that's
No,
shocking. I
I
know that is
know.
shocking.
One of one. Okay, so you beat the odds.
I did. And
100%.
it is a jumbo memorabilia,
Nice.
and that is a real cool card. I like that a lot. Obviously, like I said, one of one jumbo memorabilia for
Goalie.
the Edmonton Oilers, Tommy Salo.
No way. That is a sick patch. Wow. That's awesome. For those who can't see it, you'll see a scan later, but that is part of the year 2000. They had that certain crest on the right side of their jersey on the front. And that was super cool. So celebrating, of course, the year 2000 in the NHL, and that is the patch we're looking at right now. A big, huge patch of that. I've seen smaller versions of that, but I don't think I've seen. Maybe Leaf has done a version of it. I could be wrong. Maybe they have, but as far as I know, I don't think I've seen that big of a patch from that specific like emblem. So that is awesome. I know there's a lot of Salo fans out there. I believe, I could be wrong, but I remember talking to a collector years ago, and he was a Tommy Salo collector or something, but he knew Tommy Salo or it was his cousin or something like that. But yeah, super cool card. So yeah, Tommy Salo.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be some people
That's an awesome
interested in
patch.
that. Yeah, beautiful card, beautiful card.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
I
That
don't
might
think
be the hit of the breaks, I think. Like,
it
that's
might
awesome.
be. It might be, and that's perfectly fine if it is. That's a beautiful card. So, good way to start. Definitely some cool cards there. But yeah, we've still got two more boxes to go. So,
That's awesome.
let's crack into the second box and see how we do here.
Another thing I should mention, like you were talking about earlier in the episode when you got that Flurry autograph card without the autograph on it. Like, good on you for selling that at the price you did. I did not think it would fetch that far. I've often done some like research on certain era cards, just to see if one ever pops up for my collection, but or the ones that have, just seeing what they're kind of going for, and just they usually don't go for that much. I've seen a bunch of era cards over the years. Some of them do go for crazy prices, but for you to sell it at like what you did, that's awesome. I did not think it was going to be that high, but I mean, another cool hobby moment. It's so cool seeing what people would get, and that collector gets a really unique card for their collection, which is super cool. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that before I forget.
Yeah, absolutely. I was not expecting that either. So when I got that offer, I mean, could I probably have countered back and gotten like a little bit extra? Sure, but is it worth screwing around over a few bucks? No. So I was like, you know what? That's way more than I ever figured it would be. So I'm just gonna be excited and take it and run. So, but anyway, on to box number 2 here. Let's see if we can get anything of any players that we might collect. Let's see here. First card, like I said, going to be a number, jersey, or emblem. I believe the numbers are actually the most common, even though they're all out of 10. I think there are more numbers than there are of the other cards. So
I want to say for the numbers and emblems, they're usually out of 10 for most guys, but I think some guys are out of 5.
yeah, there are
I
a
want
few
to say, I
short
think Cam
prints.
Ward was out of 5. I believe for the numbers, probably the emblems too.
So you jinxed it. Got a game used number. It's a short print, number 4 out of 5.
Well, that's cool. Is it Cam Ward?
It's not. That would have been funny.
Oh, yeah, that would have been.
No, for the St. Louis Blues, a good name for sure. Chris Osgood.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. There's a big Osgood collector out there, so I'm sure he'd be interested in that for sure. Very cool. Yeah, Chris Osgood.
Good way to start.
Very
On
nice.
to
Nice
the
patch.
second card. Ooh, that's real nice. Okay, I'm glad I ended up getting more boxes. We have got a vintage stick rack, number 10 out of 10 for the Detroit Red Wings, Terry Sawchuk.
Ooh, wow. I think we both know a collector that would be interested in that. That is a nice card. Not all, but I think like most of the saw chucks in this product do have a photo, but I don't think all of them do. So if that sort of narrows it down and sort of all his pieces are awesome, but I guess if you want to skew one's being, I guess, better than the other, that's definitely one to get a jumbo. I don't think I've seen any of his jumbos out yet, but very cool.
And has
Like that is
some
awesome. Like that might be the hit right there, but I
true,
mean, hard to get away from that patch though.
true.
That's a tough one, but two great boxes, two really amazing boxes.
Yeah.
And you still have what, two cards left in this box?
Yep. So out
I
of
think
the
either way you win. Like either way you just won this break, but keep going.
true. So out of the three boxes, we're currently halfway because there's 12 cards total. We've seen six. And what's really cool about this too is, there's the remnants of tape, and you see that a lot on goalie sticks, especially from President's Choice. Like you said, Dr. Price likes taking the tape off to use it for other things. But what's actually kind of cool about this piece is there actually is a little bit of tape actually left on there too.
Yeah.
So kind of a nice
That's
little,
awesome. I mean, depending on how far you are down the blade, there might be just rotted on there where,
yeah,
if you start taking the tape off, you like you risk sort of ruining some memorabilia. I mean, not ruining it. I mean, it's always going to be old and beat up anyway, but I mean, yeah, like that's super cool, that he left some of the tape on, which is just awesome. And back then too, they would tape and retape all their sticks. Who knows if it's from Dr. Price? It was probably from Sawchuck, like part of it too. That's a great hit.
absolutely. On to the third card. We've got another stick tape card here. It is a holding the stick, which I think these are fairly low numbered. Yep, 2 out of 3 for the Los Angeles Kings, Jonathan Quick.
Nice. Gonna be honest, not my favorite design in the product, but that's okay. I like the concept. I just would have wished, maybe like I was thinking about this prior to the launch of the product, when I saw the previews, but maybe like a blocker save or something, like showed as much as the upper body as possible, and then trying to trying to have them make a blocker save or something like that, or even just a regular pitcher, and then some blocker memorabilia, which they have done in another set in this product, but not the most favorite design in the world. But I know some people who like it, so hey, that's okay. It's definitely a really unique concept, and to do that, especially as long as Dr. Price has been in the game, to further create new sets, whether we like them or hate them, I think, hey, that's awesome. That's a good thing of creativity right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And to explain it better for you guys too, it's not just any stick tape. The holding the stick actually means something because it's stick tape from the handle of the stick, so where he actually would have held the stick. So that's just something to note as well. And it even says that on the back of the card. It says on the front of this card is a piece of stick tape from the handle of a game used Jonathan Quick stick. So again, just
Nice.
to clarify that it's from tape that he would have actually been touching, not from the blade of the stick. So cool there. Then on to the fourth and final card, which typically the final card is either kind of like the big hit like that Salo was, or it's one of those complete jersey triples. So we'll see what we get here. Or it could be something else. I know the Pioneers are typically in this spot. So let's see. And it looks like it is a Pioneers. It's a Pioneers quad.
I think you just won this box break. I don't know what it is yet, but I think you just won this set of breaks here.
I'm just gonna say that the Salo and Sawchuck are irrelevant at this point.
Interesting.
I did manage to accomplish one of my goals.
Wow. Okay. Let's see the NRF card.
It's a Pioneers quad, numbered 1 out of 5. Frank Brimsick, George Hainsworth, Harry Lumley, and you guessed it, George Vezina.
Wow. That is awesome. I think that's staying in your collection.
It is.
That is amazing. That is just so cool. I mean, considering how rare Vezina memorabilia is, I mean, it just keeps getting rare and rare. It seems like we talk about Vezina every other week, but eventually we're going to stop because there's going to be no other cards left, at least no other new cards. So that is amazing. I'm sure we'll see Vezina again, but it might be one of the final times we do before the stuff's gone. So, we're going to look back on and say, oh man, I wish I had more of that stuff. I wish I had more time with Vezina memorabilia, but that is really cool. I don't think that'll be the last Vezina in your collection.
No, certainly
But
not.
I mean, to pull it yourself, it's probably going to be the last one you pull.
True.
Unless you can find, well, you have a Vezina collection box, but
I
Very
mean,
nice.
it's kind of funny because I mean, like you said, I've pulled Vesna stuff before, obviously,
But
with
it's gonna keep getting rarer and rarer. Like eventually it's gonna be gone.
yeah,
And you won't be able to pull it anymore.
like I was saying, it's obviously I've pulled Vesna stuff before out of the Vesna collection, but this is different. You open the Vesna collection, well, yeah, obviously you're getting something of Vesna. That's how the
And
product
you pay a
works.
premium for that. This
Yes.
box is I've heard it say yeah, like for its value, but also for its contents, like product of the year,
Hmm.
you know?
Absolutely.
And it was released at the tail end of 2022, but even I'd like to consider like even for 2023, like I still think this is going to be the product of the season for
Yeah.
22-23. Like most definitely. Like it's going to be hard to beat that. And for the memorabilia pieces used, the sets, you get a lot of good variety, and the names, I mean, just really, really awesome. They definitely skew towards, the modern guys as opposed to obviously a Vesna collection, but like that's awesome. Like as you can see here, like you can pull guys from different eras from the front of the box to the back of the box. So very nice. That is awesome.
Yeah. Obviously, I think it was a good decision that I ended up
You've had
placing a
like
second order.
3 case hits in like 2 boxes, are you? I
True.
would think so anyway. Like I would put the Sallow as a case hit somewhere because that patch is gross. But that just proves how
Amazing the
loaded this
product
stuff
is.
is, and how awesome the memorabilia cards are. But anyway, moving on to your third box.
Yeah,
Like
so
I
it's
don't
all
think
it's
it
all
could be a
downhill from
dud
here.
now. Yeah, I mean,
No.
pretty much. So now it's time for the Enroth card. I'm just gonna predict it. It's my last chance to do so. We'll see.
True. So, yeah, obviously, I'm very glad that I
I
did
think,
get more of this stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and say that that box was actually the one that was from the Flurry error card because why not?
yeah, why not?
There's no way of knowing which was the second box they put into my package. So we'll
Let's
just
just
say
say
it
it
was that one.
was.
So on to the third and final box. It's all gravy at this point. I mean, I cannot have asked for anything better out
What
of this
if you
stuff.
open the box and there's just gravy in there?
Well,
I think you would like that. I mean, like I would like that.
I
Who
can
wouldn't love a
confirm
box of gravy?
I can confirm that there are actually cards in here, so that's probably a good thing. But yeah, I mean, like I said, anything that comes out of this is just great at this point. So
They should make like a Thanksgiving dinner card where it's like has a little piece of glass or plastic and then it has little gravy underneath it. And then it's the gravy under glass set. Anyway, onto the cards.
you're
My jokes are
wild.
done for the night.
I love it. All right, first card. I've got it upside down again. First card. So let's see. I've gotten a number and an emblem so far. So let's see if we get a jersey. And it is a game used jersey, numbered 1 out of 10 for the New York Rangers, but currently on the Colorado Avalanche, Alexander Georgiev.
Nice. There's a big collector. I mean, it seems like there's collectors of all these guys. It's nice that they can get some cards, but of Georgiev out there, so maybe he needs it. You never know.
True. On to the second card. This is the break that keeps on giving. Holy moly. All right. We have got a stick rack card numbered 2 out of 10. And it's really cool because it looks like there's kind of like a chunk of paint that somehow got like transferred on there, or maybe it's just scratched off. I can't really tell. But anyway, back to the card. Stick rack number 2 out of 10. And again, checking something off of the list that I was hoping to accomplish for the Minnesota Wild, Marc-Andre Fleury.
Nice. Oh, that is a really great card. Wow. Very, very nice. Yeah, that definitely looks like a piece of paint that's chipped off. Like quite common with goalie sticks there. So very awesome. Like definitely a good sign of wear for sure. Awesome, awesome. Like that's so nice. Oh, I think you're gonna keep that one. Like that's a really nice card.
Yeah, it's
Shout out to President's Choice and the product of the year.
true. And I think this might actually be one that Kendall needs, but I kind of want to keep it. Don't
What's the
kill me,
numbering on it
Kendall.
again?
It's 2 out of 10. So there are 9 others out
Okay,
there.
I probably already picked one up already, so I think you're safe on that.
And what's really cool too, might I add, is this is from one of his Vegas CCM sticks. So presumably this is from the same stick that my made to order piece is from as well. So that's kind of cool as
Probably.
well. Nice little
That's
added
very
tidbit
nice.
there. But I mean, geez, this break was absolutely made for me. So let's see what we get. We still got 2 more cards here. On to card number 3. We've got a stick and memo. Not a great name, but it's a really nice card. Number 3 out of 10. pictured with the Winnipeg Jets, obviously stick and game used jersey, and it's an emblem piece from the looks of it. Michael Hutchinson.
Nice. Leafs legend. That's awesome. Not the best name in the world, but like always nice to get, something from a different set. So very cool.
True. So that's probably the weakest card out of the break, but that's quite all right. No problem. Like we were talking about with the expanded checklist, you're going to get some of those lesser names and guys that are kind of depth guys.
It seems like you're skewing towards, the top tier end of the checklist. But anyway, no,
yeah, I can't
varying
complain at
degree
all.
of goalies.
Can't
It's
complain
okay.
at all. So our final card, it kind of would have been nice if I ended with that Pioneers quad, I guess, but oh well. Anyway, our final card, we have got, well, this is just ludicrous at this point. It's
I
not
think
a
you should
guy.
give like before seeing the card, I think you should give a portion of these cards back. I think you ended up with too much awesome stuff for what you paid.
I mean, honestly, you're not wrong.
Highway robbery, man.
Value-wise, I would actually say is likely the best card out of the break. Better than the Sallow, better than the Pioneer Squad with George Vezina on it, for crying out loud. But this is, and I honestly, I'm just going to keep this. This is a really, really cool card of an extremely good goalie. It is a stick handle, 1/1 for the Tampa Bay Lightning, Andrei Vasilevsky.
Ooh, no way. No way. What? Oh, that's good. That's good. To get someone of value, not only the fact that it's a 1/1 nameplate card, with the stick handle and all that, but, a modern day just goalie cyborg. You're hitting in every era today. That is
True.
awesome. That is awesome. So
Whew.
that's amazing. Like, what a way to end it. That's like, you can't ask for anything better. Like,
Yeah.
you literally can't. If you were to ask for anything better as a final card, you would have already hit it previously in the break. Like, that's how good your break has been.
This is
Like,
just wild. I mean, you guys have,
this might be the best break ever that you'll ever do, like value wise. Like, coming from what you could like possibly hit, zeros to heroes, and hitting all top end hits, as far as the main hit of the box goes. Like, that's just, yeah, I think you won today. You won today. So
that was wild.
what a great break.
Like I said earlier, I'm very glad that I got those 2 extra boxes. Holy cow.
Definitely. Very nice.
Wow. I mean, you guys have heard it said multiple times already on the episode, but product of the year, I don't think there's much of a debate on that, especially after seeing
22-23 product of the year. Calling it now.
I mean, my goodness, that was just.
I think people up in the air about that statement of product of the year this season, after seeing this or listening to this break, I think, and seeing scans of the cards and all that, but I think they'll agree that, for your value, it's really hard to pick another product that would give you this kind of value, especially this year. I mean, it's hard to really compete with that. That was obviously 3 loaded boxes. Even if you take an average box, it's still great. So yeah, amazing job on these cards. It'll be interesting to see like what you keep and what you decide to get rid of, because I think all those big hits you could easily keep, and it's like that's fair. So yeah, amazing. Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's far better than I could have ever hoped for sure. I mean, again, we've said it, product of the year, it's loaded, all that stuff. The value's great. I was expecting to be satisfied with what I got, but even if I just got I mean, let's go back. You said the Sallow was probably the card of the break. That was number 3.
That was yeah, like that was the first big hit, and it just kept getting better, which is like how is that possible? Like, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, if you take just hitting one of those cards, those big cards, like you would be totally satisfied.
Oh yeah,
with just hitting one of them. You hit a Sallow, okay, great. Like, maybe not the best name in the world, but that patch is probably one of the best out there, right? If you hit just the quad, you think, okay, well, that quad, it's amazing. If you hit just the Vasilevsky, you think, okay, so Vasilevsky, it's a 1/1, this is amazing. But to hit all of these ones, and the Sawchuk, which I forgot.
Yeah.
And to hit like all of those in the same break on the same podcast episode, I might add, is just amazing. Like, I know you've done bigger breaks as far as like the Vezina collection, big value cards and stuff like that. But, to get sort of, this sort of product where, it's more normal, where you don't really know what you're going to get, to come out on this side is awesome. So congrats again. I'm going on like broken record, but really, really amazing hits. So, yep. I think we can wrap it up, because that's like, what else do you say?
Yeah, I think those boxes, especially boxes 2 and 3, were kind of just like a mic drop for the episode. There's really not much more that you can even say. If you guys were on the fence about this product, kind of like Aaron was saying earlier, I don't know what better advertisement you're going to find. Hearing what Dr. Price had to say about it, and then
Or maybe
seeing
it
this.
might deter them from buying, because you hit all the good stuff.
Well, but I mean,
But
even the Pioneers Quad, there's
There's
4
more of
more
them.
of those out there. There's
True.
all kinds of stick handles, all kinds of jumbos. I mean, I would say, yeah, for 3 boxes, this is certainly an above average break for sure. But still, if you got 3 boxes, you're probably going to get a card that's somewhat comparable to one of those cards.
For
Like,
sure. For
those
sure.
aren't uncommon, hits.
Right. Like, that's
So,
how loaded this stuff is.
yeah, you're gonna get something great out of every box. So, wow. I mean, yeah, like Aaron said, I'm not gonna ramble on further, but I mean, wow,
Me neither. I think we're done after this. This is
what a break.
you can't talk about this product more. It's just, you
Yeah,
saw
that's
it right
it.
there. So
That's it. So, holy moly, that was
this was a fun episode.
that was very fun, yes. And like I said, very glad that I ended up making a second order and getting a couple more boxes, because boy, did that ever pay off. So we're going to leave it at that. If you guys have feedback or thoughts about In the Crease, feel free to share that with us. If you guys have broken any of it or picked up any of the cards, feel free to let us know about that. We would love to see it, love to hear about it. Always love interacting with you guys on social media. And speaking of which, please be sure to follow us on social media when you're interacting with us, showing your In the Crease cards. We can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Center Ice Cardcast, and on Twitter at Center Ice CC. Please also be sure to subscribe to the show on your podcast platform of choice to make sure you never miss a future episode. Until next time on Center Ice Cardcast, keep collecting those hockey cards.